A defeat is never a good thing for any football team. Losing always stings. It frustrates fans, sparks criticism, and questions start flying everywhere. But what if I told you that Brazil's recent loss was actually a blessing in disguise? Yes, you heard that right. Carlo Ancelotti, the man leading Brazil's new era, isn't worried. In fact, he's quietly smiling after that defeat. Sounds crazy, doesn't it? You're probably thinking, how can anyone be happy when Brazil loses? Hold on. Don't explode just yet. Watch till the end, because once you understand why this loss happened, you might actually agree that it was one of the smartest moves Ancelotti has made since taking charge of Brazil. Brazil recently faced Japan in a friendly match and lost 3-2. On paper, it looks disappointing. Brazil, a 5-time world champion, beaten by Japan? That alone is enough to make fans furious. But dig deeper, and you'll see a completely different story. The main problem in that match was crystal clear: Brazil's defensive line. It looked shaky, unorganized, and vulnerable, something you rarely expect from a Brazilian team. Every time Japan attacked, there was panic at the back. The defense simply collapsed. But here's the twist. That weak defensive line wasn't an accident. It was a test. Ancelotti knew exactly what he was doing. He intentionally fielded an experimental lineup, resting his regular defenders and giving opportunities to new faces. If you watch closely, you'd notice Brazil made 8 changes to their usual starting 11. 8. Practically an entirely different team. Why? Because this wasn't a must-win match. It was a friendly. A perfect opportunity for the coach to test his bench strength, to experiment, to see who truly deserves a ticket to the 2026 World Cup. Let's break it down. Brazil's 2 main defenders, Gabriel Magalhães and Éder Militão, have been the heart of their backline. But what happens if one of them gets injured? Who replaces them? That's exactly what Ancelotti wanted to find out. So instead of going with the safe and solid pair, he took a calculated risk. He started Beraldo and Fabrício Bruno, 2 players still fighting for recognition at the international level. And what did the experiment reveal? Sadly, both failed the test. Their performances were below expectations. They struggled to handle Japan's pace and movement, and as a result, Brazil conceded goals that could have been easily avoided. But ironically, that failure is good news, because now Ancelotti knows exactly who's not ready for the world stage. You can expect Fabrício Bruno, for instance, to be dropped in the upcoming matches. He had his chance and didn't take it. And that's fine, because this is how a smart coach builds a great squad. You test everyone, you make them fight for their place, and you keep only those who can handle the pressure. Over the next few weeks, Brazil will play more friendly matches. And yes, you can expect to see more changes, more new faces, and more experiments. Don't be surprised if you see unfamiliar names on the team sheet. That's part of Ancelotti's plan, to build depth, not just a strong starting 11. Think about it. No team wins the World Cup with just 11 players. You need a complete squad, 26 or 27 players ready to step in at any moment. Every single one must be capable of replacing another without dropping the team's quality. That's what separates good teams from great ones. Brazil, for decades, has always had world-class talent, but too often, they've relied heavily on their stars. When 1 or 2 key players were missing, the entire system collapsed. Ancelotti wants to fix that once and for all. He's not chasing short-term victories. He's building a foundation for long-term success. That's why he's taking the risk now, during friendlies, not when it really matters. Losing a friendly match against Japan hurts the ego, yes, but it doesn't hurt Brazil's future. In fact, it might just save them from heartbreak at the World Cup. Imagine this. If Fabrício Bruno had never been tested now and somehow made it to the World Cup squad, then produced the same kind of disastrous performance on the biggest stage, what would happen? The whole nation would be furious. But thanks to this loss, Ancelotti got the answer early. He saw the weaknesses before they could become a problem. He identified who's ready and who's not. And that's exactly why he's not angry. He's relieved. Real football fans understand this. They don't just look at the scoreboard. They look at the strategy. They know that building a world-class team means going through painful lessons along the way. So to those fans who are angry shouting, and blaming Ancelotti. Take a deep breath. Calm down. This is all part of his plan. He's not destroying Brazil. He's rebuilding them piece by piece, experiment by experiment. And if history has taught us anything about Carlo Ancelotti, it's that his plans always come together in the end. He's a master of timing, patience, and adaptation. Whether at Real Madrid, Milan, or Chelsea, he knows how to use every defeat as a stepping stone toward greatness. Right now, Brazil is in the testing phase. Every friendly match is a laboratory. Every mistake is a lesson. And every poor performance is a filter, removing those who can't handle the pressure and revealing the ones who truly can. This process might look messy today, but in a few months, it'll make sense. Once Ancelotti finalizes his 26-man squad, you'll see a more balanced, battle-tested Brazil, a team where every player has earned his place through performance, not reputation. So yes, Brazil lost, but they also learned. They discovered their weaknesses before the World Cup, and that's priceless. And maybe, just maybe, when Brazil lifts that 6th World Cup trophy, fans will look back at this loss to Japan and realize this was where the real journey began. Because sometimes a loss isn't the end of the story. It's the beginning of something greater. So to every Brazilian fan watching, don't be angry. Be patient. Trust the process. Carlo Ancelotti isn't celebrating defeat. He's celebrating discovery. This was not just another match. It was a mirror, reflecting who's ready to fight for the yellow jersey and who still has a long way to go. So the next time Brazil loses a friendly, remember this. The scoreline doesn't always tell the full story. Sometimes behind every defeat, there's a master plan unfolding. And Ancelotti is the mastermind pulling the strings.